All right, I'm going to dive right in and get started. I'm going to cover a lot tonight, and I'm going to go fairly quickly. If you're familiar with Smart Notebook a little bit already, you'll probably be more than fine. If this is brand new to you, you might find it a bit overwhelming and fast, but don't worry, the recording will be posted right here on the channel. It'll show up about an hour after this is over, and you can always come back to it and take it more slowly, play a little bit of it, pause it, play a little bit more, rewind if you need to, and so on. So I do apologize if it's a bit fast for some folks tonight. That's just the nature of a webinar. It's hard for me to tell how fast to go. So welcome. I'm Erica Armstrong. I'm the Assistive Technology Resource Teacher for Special Programs, which means any contained classes or even any students in mainstream that have needs where I can help out. I try to help out where I can. And you may be familiar as well with your school's assistive technology resource teacher. Lorraine Holt is here in the chat. She's the one that shows up as Peel Assistive Technology, and she's one of our ATRTs as well. And if you're not sure who your school's ATRT is, you can ask Lorraine in the chat and she can let you know. So anything we cover here today, if you need help following up with it, you can connect with one of us and be glad to help you out. So just a note about Smart Notebook. Unlike all my webinars in the past, everything I showed on those ones was available to everyone in Peel. Unfortunately, Smart Notebook is not available to everyone. It is a paid subscription, and we don't have a board-wide subscription. We can add individual people. So if you are in a contained classroom that has a smart board, I can give you a license if you don't have one already, although you should. If you teach in a mainstream classroom, unfortunately, I can't give a license to you. So it would be up to your school if you wanted to purchase licenses with your own tech budget. But that would be up to you. Okay. So this file that I'm going through today, there's a link to it right underneath this video. There's a description, and if you hit show more, it'll all expand out and scroll all the way down, and there'll be a section that says related resources and a link, and that will take you to somewhere where you can download a copy of this exact file that I'm using. So if later you're following along and you want to try this stuff out and you want to do exactly what I'm doing, open up that file first, and then you'll have everything that I'm showing you today. So this is Smart Notebook. Along the side here, we have what I call the page sorter. It's very much like PowerPoint or Google Slides or something like that. And you can, skip around to the different pages in your file. Lorraine's letting me know that I'm a bit fuzzy and pixelated. Yeah, I'm sorry, my internet's being a bit slow tonight for some reason. So it's going to be a little bit fuzzy if you can't see super clearly. Hopefully the recording will be clearer, but I'll do my best to describe what I'm pointing out to so that you can know where I'm looking. Yeah, unfortunately I can't do anything about that. Hopefully it'll kind of sort itself out as we go along and start being a little bit faster, but my internet speed, it keeps going up and down and up and down. So when it goes down, it gets fuzzy. All right, so this is a typical file that some students might use as they're checking in for attendance. So I've already added a picture of my classroom. Obviously, it's not really my classroom. I just got it off the internet. But you could take a picture of your real classroom and put it in. And then you would put pictures of your students along the bottom. So I just found cartoon versions. You could use real pictures, whatever you like. And then underneath each picture, I'm putting each student's name. So because I'm doing something that's repeated over and over and over, one thing you can do is if you select an object, in this case the text, you'll notice some things show up. You get a white dot in the bottom, a green dot at the top, and this arrow in the upper right hand corner. If I click the down arrow in the upper right hand corner, I get a whole bunch of options that pop down. The very first one is clone. So when I hit clone, I get another copy of that same thing. And so that can save a lot of time if you're doing anything repetitive, just to clone things rather than having to recreate them over and over and over. Now that I've done that, I want the kids to be able to come in and move their picture up to the classroom. But if you can't see it, what's happening is the picture is actually going behind the picture of the classroom. And I don't want that. I want it to go on top of it. So you have to pay attention in Smart Notebook to layers. Things can be layered on top of each other. So in this case, I'm going to click on my picture of my classroom, go to that down arrow in the upper right, and you have this section called Order. And under Order, I can say Send to the back. And that's what I want to do in this case because I want that classroom picture to be in my background. So now when I click any of the pictures of the students and move them up, they're on top, which is what I want to have happen. But what you might not notice, if you can't see it very clearly, is that the picture moved, but the name didn't move with it. So in order for that to happen, I have to group those items. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both the picture and the name underneath of it together. There's a couple ways to do this. I can drag a box around both items and let go, or I can click the first one, hold down the Shift button on my keyboard, and then click the second one. After I've done that, I can click the down arrow on the object again, either one, and I can go to Group, and I can group those objects. And now when I move the picture, the name moves at the same time. So they've now become one object together. So I'm going to do that one more time, selecting both the name and the picture, clicking the down arrow, going to Group, and grouping them. And there, now it's movable. Now with Smart Notebook, before you let students kind of interact with things, you want to make sure you're always saving it in the perfect state where you want it to reset back to when you open it back up the next day. Another thing you do want to do is lock objects that you don't want students to be able to mess with too much. So in this case of this picture, I don't want students to be able to move it. I'm going to go to the down arrow. I'm going to go to Lock, and I'm going to lock it in place. That will make sure that it can't be moved at all. I'm going to do the same thing with the title at the top, go to Lock, and lock it in place. Now those things can't be moved. If I try to click on them, a little lock will appear. I can't move it. If later as a teacher I needed to be able to fix something or move it, you can right click on it and choose Unlock so that you can, fix things and then lock it again. For my pictures along the bottom, I'm still going to lock them, but this time I'm going to choose Allow Move. That way the students can still move it around, but all the editing icons aren't going to show up, so they're not going to be able to get into anything to mess them up. So again, that's just Lock and Allow Move. Now, if any of your students get bothered by other students putting their picture on top of theirs or whatnot, you could even do Lock, but just allow vertical move. That way the student can move the picture straight up and down, but they can't move it from side to side at all. And so that way every student just stays in their lane and they're not overlapping with each other. If that was ever a problem, you can kind of fix it. So that's a very typical attendance kind of check-in. Now, one thing a lot of classes like to do is have some kind of a morning song as well. In the past, with older versions of Smart Notebook, what you had to do was link out to YouTube. You had to click on something that would open a web browser. You could play your song there, and then you would close the web browser and come back to Smart Notebook. But now, if I go to this puzzle piece on the far left-hand side, I get access to what they call add-ons, and one of them is a YouTube add-on. And right here within Smart Notebook, I can search YouTube. And then I can pick one, add the video, And then I can resize it, move it around wherever I need it. And then when we go to use this in the classroom, we can play it right there. We don't have to leave or go anywhere. So that makes it a little bit more seamless, which is nice. All right, now I'm going to just click down to my next little page in this Smart Notebook. And I'm going to demonstrate something that one of the classes I worked with wanted to do. The teacher wanted to have a hundreds chart, and they wanted to practice skip counting. So counting by 5s and 10s and whatnot. But she wanted to be able to like visually track it as you went along. So of course you could just put a hundreds chart on your screen and then just use, one of the colorful pens and kind of circle along as you're counting. That's one option that would work. But in this case, just to be a little fancy, to show you a couple of possibilities, I'm going to go over to my left-hand side here, and the second option down looks like a little picture, and it's your gallery. So in your gallery, you have a bunch of built-in things that you can search and use that come with Smart Notebook. So I'm going to look for a spinner. And then when it finds results, they're down here, and I'm going to click on the one that says interactive. And there's only one interactive spinner built in, so I'm just going to click and drag it, put it into my notebook. And then now that it's here, anytime you click on it, it spins and you get a random color. Well, in this case, I don't want a random color, I want a random number. So there's a little gear that I can click on, and then I can customize it. So I can say count by 10, count by 5, count by 2, whatever the case may be. And maybe I don't want 4 choices, I only want 3. So you can actually click the minus sign and get rid of a segment. And then when I'm done customizing, I can click the gear again, and now it's just the numbers that I wanted, which is awesome. I can now also lock it in place, and then even that settings widget goes away so that it's really smooth to use. Now I'm going to make some counters. So I'm coming up to the top, and I'm clicking on the shape tool, picking the circle. And then I'm going to draw a little circle just big enough to cover up my numbers. There I go. I'm going to click back to my pointer tool, select this counter, just measure, yeah, it's good size. Now I'm going to clone it so I have 3. And now I want to color these in. So I'm going to select my first one. I'm going to come over to the left-hand side over here again. And the second from the bottom option is the properties panel. And so I can kind of customize and change objects from here. In this case, I'm going to fill it in with a solid fill. And then there's a fancy little eyedropper right here. If I click the eyedropper, I can then come over to the spinner and just click on one of the colorful sections so that I make my counters the exact same color as my spinner, which is awesome. I'm going to take it a step further, and I'm going to make the counters see-through a bit so that when I put them on my hundreds chart, I can still see the numbers shining through. So you have the object transparency right here, and I can kind of put that down a bit. I'm going to do that with each object. So now if I put that counter over top of the 10, I can still see the 10 underneath, which is perfect. And then the last thing I want to do to make this even more magical is I'm going to use a feature called Infinite Cloner. So to do that, I go to the down arrow, and it's one of the options. It says Infinite Cloner. So I'm going to pick that on each of my counters. And now what that does is if I spin my spinner, okay, I need to count by 2. I'm going to come down to this one, and when I drag it out and drop it, it doesn't go away. It's still there, so I can use as many of them as I need, which is awesome. So that can come in handy with all kinds of different activities. If you're doing patterning, if you've made a little game board, if you're doing some counting, all kinds of possibilities for that infinite cloner. So that is awesome. Yeah, thanks, Lorraine. If anyone does have questions, feel free at any time to interrupt. Now I'm going to go to another activity. And in this case, we wanted the students to be able to practice, when you get home from the grocery store, where do you put objects away? Do you put them away in the fridge or do you put them away in the pantry? And so the first thing I need to do is to have some objects that we could perhaps sort with. So again, I'm going to go to the add-ons section. It's the puzzle piece on the far left-hand side. And it's still kind of stuck in my YouTube search because that's what I used last. But if I click the squares up beside the word YouTube, it'll take me back and show me all of my add-ons. And now I can do the image web search. If you've used Smart Notebook in the past, the older version, you will know that it was a pain to bring in any pictures from the internet because you had to go to your web browser, search for stuff there, save stuff, and then pull them in. Well, now they have this built-in search, which is way better. So I can search for some stuff, my healthy cereal, and I put it in way too big so I can just, resize it. And then maybe I need some milk for my cereal. Yeah, absolutely, Lindsay. For sure, when you get back to class from your grocery shopping, this would be great for that. And you'll notice too, I'm being kind of picky with when I'm searching for stuff to try to find stuff that looks like it would look right after you get home from the grocery store. I mean, as close as I can. You could even take real pictures and input real pictures. All right, one more, something else that goes in the pantry maybe. Okay, so you get the idea. You could put as many different objects down there as you like. And so at this point, you could use the activity just like this. Have the students just, move the pictures where they go and you can guide them and say, yeah, you're right, awesome. But we can take this a step further and actually turn this into an interactive activity that gives them that immediate feedback without you needing to necessarily moderate it. So in order to do that, I'm going to, once again, go back to my main menu of add-ons by clicking these squares that are right here. And I'm going to choose Activity Builder. Yeah, absolutely, Lindsay. It searches with Bing, which maybe isn't as great as Google. So if you did want to, snip in a picture from somewhere else, by all means, you can still do that, absolutely. And usually most pictures on the internet, if you just right-click them, save picture as, you can do that as well. Okay, so I've opened my activity builder, and right now it's saying I have 0 activity objects on the page, which is perfect because I haven't done anything yet. I'm going to click on the picture of my fridge, and then over here I'm now going to click on Edit. And now you'll see the picture of the fridge has all these lines kind of across it. That just lets you know that that's the object you're editing right now. And then over here you have 2 boxes. It says accept these objects, drag objects here to accept them, and reject these objects, and you put them down here. So all I'm going to do is, all right, which object should be accepted in the fridge? Well, in this case, the milk. So I just drag and drop, and I guess the lettuce. Drag and drop. And then it says down here, reject these objects. So what doesn't go in the fridge? Well, the cereal doesn't go in the fridge, and the can of soup does not go in the fridge. So now you'll see every object down here either has a check mark or an X on it to let you know whether it's being accepted or rejected. Another thing I like to do is now that I've done the objects, I can click on settings And I can change what happens when the students get it right or wrong. So the default has it when object accepted, objects fade out. That means they actually disappear. I don't like that. And I hate that it's the default because I don't want the objects to disappear. I want to see that they're still there. So I like changing that from fade out to spin. That's my favorite. You could play with the different options to see what you like. And the default for if it's wrong, it's that it bounces back. And I like that. That's fine. So I'm going to say done. And then I need to do that one more time with the pantry. So I click on the picture of the pantry, click edit, which objects are accepted in the pantry. Well, the cereal is, the can of soup is, the objects are rejected, the milk, and the lettuce. So it's the exact opposite of what I just did before. Again, I'm going to go to settings, change that to spin, leave the bounce back, and say done. All right, so now that I've built my activity, I would want to save my file before I let the students play it, because that way I can reset it back to that saved state. So I'm going to hit save. And okay, so I'm the student and come along, oh, box of cereal, maybe that goes in the fridge. So if I drag it to the fridge and let go, it's just going to snap right back to the bottom. All right, it doesn't go there. Let's try the pantry. All right, so when you get it correct, it just spins and stays there. So let's try the milk. Does it go in the pantry? Nope. But it does go in the fridge. So then they can come along and sort every object until they're all somewhere. Now, let's say you have this up on your smartboard in your class and you now want to give another student a turn to play the same activity. There's a couple ways to do that. My favorite way, though, is just to go back to my page sorter, and on each page there is a down arrow, and then I can choose reset page, except it's not letting me choose reset page. I'm not sure why. Interesting. Well, usually you can just hit reset page right there and it would reset everything, back to where it goes. Worst case scenario, you just drag things back down. All right, a couple of other tricks. Let's say you have some simple math questions, just as an example. You could probably think of much better things to do with this than this, but just to show you. In this case, I've just added a picture of this question mark with the check mark on it, just a picture I found. And I'm going to cover up the answer with the picture. Then I'm going to select the picture so that the blue box shows up around it. And on the left-hand side, I'm going to choose the properties section again. And then right here, I have the option for object animation. And in this case, the type of animation I want is fade out. And it occurs when the object is clicked, which is perfect. And I'm going to always make sure to save when it's in its pristine, perfect state before I let students play with it. But then if the students are there and they want to check if they're right, they can just tap the picture disappears, the answer reveals. So you can make all kinds of little matching games and things like that. Another trick is what they call pull tabs. So this is a pull tab I found in the gallery. I just searched for pull tab and they had this one, but you could do it with any object. You just kind of hide something mostly off the page, but it just peeks out a little bit so that you can touch it and pull it in to your screen, or in this case, you just click on it and it slides all the way in. So if you needed to have some instructions right here, even for your own benefit, or an answer to something, anything at all, you can kind of just hide things off the side of the page and pull them in when you need to. Even if you had a list of students who were going to take turns, in what order they were going in, they could be there. Lots of possibilities. And then if you're looking for more inspiration, if you go in your gallery to lesson activity examples, there's tons of stuff in there. So again, the gallery is the picture on the left-hand side. And then right here, it does say lesson activity examples. So I'm just clicking on that. And then down here, it says Smart notebook files and pages, and there's 29 different samples in here of activities. So you can kind of scroll through them and see all kinds of stuff. And if you want to try any of them, you just drag the whole page right over and drop it. And there it is right in your file, and you can kind of play with it to see what they've done. This example isn't really a functional skill our students would necessarily need to know, but just the concept of, using balloons that you can pop. So you can get all kinds of inspiration there. Now, another feature that is new to Smart Notebook 18 as compared to Smart Notebook 11, that a lot of us have been using in the past, is called Smart Lab. Now, Smart Lab is this little alien on the top. And when I click on my alien, Smart Lab should open up. There it comes. All right, it's the first time I've opened it on this computer, so it's showing me a little video about it. I'm not going to bother to watch that right now, but you could. And then it's showing you all kinds of different types of activities that you could try. So maybe I want to make a sorting activity. I could choose Super Sort down here. I'm going to click on it, and now I can make a couple of categories. And then I can add text or images into each category. Now, the only downside with images, which I don't love this part of it, when you click the little image button, what it does, hopefully, is it opens up your browser to browse your computer for images. So you have to have those pictures already saved somewhere in a folder on your computer. It doesn't let you search the internet right there, or it doesn't even let you pull in pictures from your gallery in Smart Notebook, which is too bad. But you could find pictures and bring them in from your computer. So that adds a little extra step. So just for the sake of time right now, I'm not going to bother doing pictures. Obviously, for a lot of our kiddos, pictures would be better than just words, but just for the sake of demonstration, I'm just going to type in orange, apple, banana, under fruits, helps if I can spell, and then veggies, lettuce, corn, whatever, potatoes. So you set it up here however you like, you make it completely correct, and then I'm going to click on next. And then this is kind of fun, there are all these different themes you can pick from. So maybe I want the jungle, the rock concert, whatever. I'm going to pick space just for the fun of it. And then you click finish. And now it has automatically made the game for us. And the cool thing about these games is, yes, you can still play them up on your smart board, but you can also let the students play the activity on their devices. So on your class set of iPads, the students can play. So if I want to play on the smart board, I can just do it from right here. You just sort things. If I want my students to be able to play on their devices, there's a little red icon on the side right here that looks like a phone. If I click on that, it's going to open this up. Oh, it's saying I haven't signed in yet. That's a good point. If you have a license from the school board, you can sign in on your computer at home, which is what I'm on right now, or at school, doesn't matter. But it is just now prompting me to sign in. And I'll show you this because you'll probably have to do the same thing as well. So this website opens up in your web browser, and then I just click on sign in with Google. And then you choose your account or type in your P number at pdsb.net. And then it says I'm all set, so it syncs and it knows my license. Okay, perfect. Now it's letting me do the rest. Timing dope, not a problem. If you send me an email just to remind me, I will make sure you get a license for your Contain class. That's not a problem. All right, so now it is showing me a website, in this case, hellosmart.com, and it's showing me a code. And so, oh, hi Lorraine, you've joined my game. So if you're at home and you want to give it a try, we'll wait a minute to see if anyone else wants to join in. So you would just go to hellosmart.com and type in the numbers you see on the screen. And mine's glitching a little bit right now, so I don't know if it's going to let me do it or not. I'm getting the spinning wheel of death. Okay. I might have to restart my Smart Notebook. Give me a minute here. Okay, let's see if it saved it for me. No, it did not. Of course. Have to love technology. Okay, here we go. Let's try that one more time. All right, so conveniently, even though I glitched out and had to restart, it's showing me you guys are already connected, which is amazing. So I have 3 connected students. I can see your names right here. Now, as the teacher, I have control over when your game starts. Nancy, unfortunately, no, the license is not available to all Peel teachers. I can provide licenses to teachers who work in contained special education classrooms. Other than that, you would have to ask your school if they're willing to buy licenses from your school tech budget. Some, for example, secondary schools have them in all their math classes. So it is possible, but that would be a school-by-school decision. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start the game now on my end. I'm going to click Start. No problem, Nancy. And so now on your devices, you should be seeing the game, and you can sort your carrots and orange and corn and apple where they go. On my side, I can't see your answers. I don't know if you're getting them right or wrong or not. So if you're using this for assessment purposes, even just for some formative assessment purposes, you would have to kind of just observe what's going on, or get just students to reflect themselves. You don't actually get data of if they're getting this right or wrong. So this is more for practice and for fun, not so much for like a quiz or anything like that. If all of a sudden you're in the middle of doing the activity and as a teacher I need your attention again, I can hit pause on my end, and that will pause the activity on your screen. You're going to notice right here there's a bit of a delay between my live stream and what you're seeing. So I can pause it and I can resume it. And then when we need to move on to the next thing, as a teacher I have to click on End. And at that point, the game cuts off from you and you cannot play it anymore. So that's lots of fun. And they are quick and short activities. So if you had multiple activities on multiple pages here in your Smart Notebook, The students don't have to, go to the website and put in the code all over again. They would automatically be ready for the next game. And right here in the star, there's a few other things you can add. You can add a visual timer and to put it up there so students know how much longer they have to play. You can add a randomizer, and you would have to just make a list of students, and you could randomize, whose turn is it to come to the smartboard to play. So that's in the little hat on the side. It gives you a few more options of things to do. All right, so that's Smart Lab. That's the little alien guy. All kinds of game templates. You can make all kinds of really fun and interactive things, and it's great for our contained classes for those kiddos that just don't want to wait their turn. You can all play at once. Just a couple of other things I wanted to point out. There is an iPad player app. And if you search for that in the App Store, it is free to install. And then once you have that app on your iPads, you again would sign in with your Peel P number and your account to sync your subscription. But if you have that activated, then you can come up to File on any of your Smart Notebook files, and you would click on Share. And then it gives you the option to share with the smartboard or share using a link. I just click Share using a link, and it uploads my file to the cloud. And just by the act of doing that, it then magically shows up on my iPad as well. I don't have to actually email myself the link or anything. It just knows to sync that file to my account. And so then I could get students to play with this Smart Notebook file on an iPad, which is a great option. So that's publishing files and then opening them on your iPad if you like. Does Smart Pen work for this? So I'm not sure exactly what you mean. There are pens built into Smart Notebook. Right here you can choose, different colors, and you can, draw with pens, and that works with everything. Some smart boards come with little plastic pens that you can use and draw with. If you are meaning there are some smart boards in the board that actually aren't smart boards. They're made by Epson, and they look like a normal whiteboard. It's like a hard whiteboard that you can still write on with a marker, but then you have these magic pens that you use to, click on your board and drag things around and whatnot. And that's works with a software called Easiteach. So that is different than this. And then another thing I wanted to just point out, they do have Smart Learning Suite online. So if you wanted to work on creating some Smart Notebook lessons, maybe from home on a computer that you don't have the Smart Notebook installed on, but you still want to work, you can go to Smart Learning Suite online. And I'm going to sign in. And now that I'm signed in, you're going to see that file that I just shared. It's showing up here. So I could continue to modify it a bit. You don't get the full suite of tools in this online version that you do in the downloadable desktop version, but it's something, which is nice. And you can actually go here and start a new lesson. If you're making those little Smart Lab games, you can start an activity from here, and create your match games, whatever you're going to create right from here, which is awesome. So that's just a quick way to make things, just another option to have. All right, I'm seeing some questions. Let's see if I can answer them. Where can I find lessons for the high school level that are already made and can be used and modified? That is a great question. Thank you for that, Tia. If you go over on the left-hand side to the gallery, there is a link here to what's called Smart Exchange. And then you just click on search, and it actually opens up in a web browser. And so from here, you can browse by subject, browse by grade. You can also search for things. So if I needed grade 10, and then I needed math. You can also narrow it down by country, but it's going to give you a bunch of things that are already created that you can then just click download, and then you can open them and modify them from there. Yeah, if you have a smart board that is older, often people do have Smart Notebook 11. Smart Notebook 11 was the last version of Smart Notebook that didn't require an annual subscription. So after that, you had to pay, each year to keep your subscription up to date, which is obviously more expensive for schools. So a lot of schools have held on tight to that old Smart Notebook 11. So some of the things I've shown you today will work with Smart Notebook 11. This searching on Smart Exchange, you can still do that with Smart Notebook 11. But some of the things I showed you, for example, that Smart Lab with the alien and getting students to play on their device, those are newer features that won't be available in 11. They would only be available if you paid for that upgrade to 18. And Tammy told, even if you have a Epson whiteboard, if you have fallen in love with what I've shown here you tonight and you would much rather use Smart Notebook, reach out to me. I might be able to help you out with that and make something happen. So don't be shy. We can be a little bit flexible. Everyone calls everything a smart board, even if they're not, just like we call all tissues Kleenexes, even if they're not Kleenex brand. So I know that can get confusing, but that is what it is. So yeah, Smart Exchange is great. Even for our special education teachers here, there's a lot of special education stuff in there as well. And then as far as sharing amazing things you've created, one thing that I found is great is creating a team drive on Google Drive. And you can, everyone in your department or everyone who teaches the same kind of class as you can add them to your team drive, and you can put files there so you can find each other's. There is a way that you can publish and share your things on this Smart Exchange as well. To be honest, I haven't played with that a whole lot, so I'm not sure exactly how that works. Probably. Oh, I see it. It's not there. It's right here. When I clicked on search before, that opened up the search, but then there's a button right here that says share a resource. So if you created something amazing and you wanted to be generous, you would just click right here on share a resource. And it just opens up again. Yeah, and it lets you log in and upload things to contribute them to that global community of people that are sharing, which is great. Sharing is caring. Yeah, Lindsay's saying that she still uses Easiteach on her smartboard. She does the opposite way around. I mean, when you have an interactive whiteboard, you can use it with any software, really. It doesn't matter. So that's why I say there is a bit of flexibility there. Use Easiteach on a smartboard or use Smart Notebook on an Epson board. It doesn't really matter. It's just a big display, and your finger or your little magic pen becomes your mouse. So whether you're using Smart Notebook or you're just using a website or whatever, it should still all work. So there is some flexibility there for those of you that have the other kind of board but would rather use this. Yeah, you've got the best of both worlds, Lindsay. You're lucky. All right, folks, that comes to the end of the official content I wanted to share with you. I know I went over a lot, so for those of you that came late, don't forget that below the video, if you click show more in the description box, it'll expand out, and there is a link to this file that I was using today. So you're welcome to download it to practice with. Otherwise, do browse through Smart Exchange. There's lots of stuff in there you can just download and open and get inspiration from and tweak. And then do reach out to your assistive technology resource teachers. Even if you're a teacher in a mainstream classroom, but you have students in your class with special education needs, as we all do, we can help you with building your capacity around using Smart Notebook. We can co-plan together and help each other out. That's what we're here for. So if you have any further questions, I can stick around for about 10 minutes longer, so feel free to ask. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And this is our last webinar of our little series that we're doing right now. So if you have suggestions for future topics that we might do later in the year, do let me know, and we'll try to make it happen.